pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Almost a year of using this spot. I just realized today if I just twirl the tripod ever so slightly, you don't have to look at the ugly warning sign, whatever the sign is, keep off the grass sign behind me. It's a little more green viewing. We'll see how this goes. Did I say this is Friday Reads? This is Friday Reads, my favorite video to make, I think. I love doing Friday Reads, and this one is no exception, at least so far. But I don't have much time. I shot 2 videos this morning, one of which just went up, my Canadian Women Writers recommendation video. The other one will go up sometime. I'm probably going to start pre-filming a bunch of videos that are going to go up over the months of June and July, because I'm probably going to be so busy I'm not going to have time to do much more than Friday Reads for some of those weeks. I think I am going to keep some in reserve for that possibility. Oh, and by the way, before I forget, luckily for the people who won the book draws last week, but unluckily for any of you that were hoping they might disappear and you might have another chance at one of those books, I've heard from all 4 winners, so those books are now designated to go to the original lucky winners, and those books will be mailed on either May 31st or June 1st next week, and then expect them to arrive about 2 months later, and please enjoy. I finished 2 books this week. One was The Book of Forgotten Authors by Christopher Fowler. I talked quite a bit about it the first week that I started reading it. This was a buddy read with Ange of Beyond the Pages, and it was a wonderful book to buddy read. We read about 5 chapters, 5 little essays a day, and talked about those at the end of each day on Voxer. And this was a 4-star read for me. I'm going to give a full review, so I'm not going to say much. There was things about it I didn't like, but it introduced me to a whole swack of authors I'd never heard of or was only vaguely familiar with that I now want to read. I could probably read those authors exclusively for the rest of the year, if they're any good, but they sounded very interesting. And in fact, as you know, Ange and I already buddy read the suspense novel Mischief by Charlotte Armstrong. Ange and I are going to do a joint review, which, even though I'm Canadian, does not mean that we're going to smoke a joint and make the review together. I wish. I also finished on audio Breath, Eyes, Memory by Edwidge Danticat. This was another 4-star read for me. It was really wonderfully done on audio, and it was just a heartrending story about 3 generations of Haitian women, including 2 that emigrated to America, and I suspect is heavily autobiographical. And the misogyny of Haitian culture in this case, and the way that it impinged on these women, and the way it made them abusers of each other, the way that they perpetrated the patriarchy and the abuse generation on generation, was heartbreaking. So well written, very, very moving. But I thought it was a terrible ending. I'm not going to give any spoilers, so I'm not going to say what the ending is, but it's a very sad ending. And it wasn't necessarily unexpected, but the way that it was executed I thought was really terribly incompetent. The way that the characters involved weren't drawn in a way that it flowed to that ending, so that it was jarring in a way that seemed like literary incompetence, not just a shock. So I was very disappointed in the ending, but it still only brought it down to a 4-star read for me. It's really, really a tremendous novel, except for the ending, I thought. Enjoy is not quite the word, but I was really deeply affected by Breath, Eyes, Memory. And I have one bail to tell you about. Unless you follow me on Goodreads or Twitter, you may be surprised by this. I was. I bailed on The Famished Road by Ben Okri. This was a buddy read with Wilson Sugart. We had just started earlier the same day or the day before my last Friday Reads, and it started out so well, and in fact it continued to go so well, but what made me bail is this is magical realism on steroids, and it was way too much for me. And just the novel just was like a helium balloon that just never was coming down to earth where there was any realistic fictional flow to it. The writing was sumptuous, and the images and the dreams, and it was all a dream, but I don't want to read a book that reads like a series of dreams, where there's nothing that brings it down, where there's a narrative through line in any realistic way. So once I realized that what I thought at first was just kind of the mythic beginning of the story, and we'd kind of move into realism, once I realized that that was not the case, and that it was just going to continue to be a hot air balloon of fabulous, literally fabulous, powerful vignettes and scenes, I just knew I wasn't going to last for 500 pages. So I bailed a few pages into chapter 14, so about 65 pages I read. The writing is beautiful, and if you are more into magical realism than I am, I think it's a book that you should try. And I may try it again, but it was too fabulous for me. I never thought I'd say that, but yeah. So I left Wilson in the lurch. I'll let him discuss his own reaction if he ever chooses to, but I left him at the altar of the Famished Road. I started one book this week. I've already held it up, talked about it in another video. Map and Lucia by E.F. Benson, a 1935 novel. This is a reread, so I talked about it on the reread tag of Just One Readers that I filmed this morning. I loved it when I read it a year ago. I think I'm loving it even more this time. Yeah, it's just so good. It's such witty humor that's so linked to a plot that flows throughout the book rather than just comedy sketches, which is most comic fiction. There isn't really a story, but this story is really, really well done, and there's an intellectual component to it. I think it's just a masterpiece, so I am really enjoying buddy reading it with my friend Leah from Litzy, who I'll be meeting for the very first time in the receiving line after my wedding ceremony. She's coming to the wedding because she lives in Canada, but I've never met her face to face and won't meet her until she gives me a big smooch after the wedding. So that's going to be very exciting. And I have two books coming up on my short-term TBR. One is my second John Boyne novel. This one is The Absolutist, and it's earlier than, I don't know where it fits into his oeuvre, into his collected works. I'm not sure, but it was published in 2011, and I've heard really good things about it. This one is set World War I and following, and I have a good feeling about it. John Boyne has the best opening lines ever. Do you remember the opening line from The Heart's Invisible Furies? Well, here is the opening line to this. Seated opposite me in the railway carriage, the elderly lady in the fox fur shawl was recalling some of the murders that she had committed over the years. I love this book already. I'm doing this as a buddy read with BookTube debutante Bruno. So we're going to start buddy reading it on Sunday. And in fact, we're going to do it over a week because, as you may know, I've got a full schedule of women's related buddy reading going on in June, so we're going to sneak this in at the end of the month. I'm really stoked about that. And in fact, this second book on my TBR, I'm not going to start it until next Friday. Presumably I will have started it by the time I film next week's Friday Reads, is the book that I keep kicking down the road, but it's finally the day of reckoning. West by Karis Davies, and this is a buddy read with Doris of Aldi Books, our first buddy read. Doris, do I have to be on my best behavior or not? It's on my June TBR for the Reading Women Readathon, but I have conferred with Doris, and it's going to fit for both of us to do a 2-day buddy read next Friday and Saturday. So I'll kind of get that off my list. Hopefully really enjoy it and enjoy buddy reading it with her. But that one I'm going to do in 2 days, and I'm also going to do the Elizabeth Taylor novel in 2 days early the week following. So that I think that leaves me with 4 buddy reads that I'll be doing over the month of June. That will keep me busy enough with my move. But all that sounds just fantastic. That's all I got. How about you? Here's an assignment. Give me the opening line of the book you're currently reading in the comment section below. As well, tell me anything else. What color your underwear is, when the last time was that you washed your underwear, anything like that. Anything related to literature. Thanks for watching.